A Stingray device mimics a cell phone tower. It can force a cell phone to connect and then download and store information. But in the process of trying to get information on one phone, it can also collect information about other phones in the area. Phones of people who are not suspected of doing anything illegal. One man described it between the wind and the hail like a machine gun spraying bullets against the house. I want you to take a look at this. This car here, there's a lot of them like this where the windows have just been shattered. You can even still see pieces of glass here on the trunk. When an officer comes up to your car, what's supposed to happen? What are you supposed to do? The state's going to update the driver's handbook soon to give clear answers to those questions. Since we checked in with you at 5, we've been getting some new information about who was at the pool when this happened. But I want you to take a look over here first. A couple people in hazmat suits just came out, and another team of 2 went in as they're trying to get this situation under control. Riding on these things does take a little bit of time to get used to, but once you do, you can start to go at a pretty decent speed. However, if you're concerned about safety, you can lower the maximum speed on some of these models to somewhere around 5 miles an hour. Railroads were supposed to have this technology implemented by the end of this year, but meeting that deadline has proven more difficult than some people thought.
The very last picture of him in Belhaven.
Marlene Rue and her husband Hal thought they had more time to take more pictures, to make more memories. This is the home they were working on in Belhaven, where they plan to retire this year. Marlene was at work showing her friends these pictures when she got the call.
I was just scared to death, and it's just like, you know, time stopped.
Hal suffered devastating injuries when a lift collapsed on him outside the State Archives building in Raleigh in April. He was an electrician who'd been working for the Department of Administration for almost 5 years.
He would not have wanted to live with that, so we already knew what the answer was. And he had told me, if anything like that happened, to let him go. I just wanted to stay with him that night. If they'd have let me stay in the bed with him that night for one last time, I would have done it in a heartbeat.
6 months after his death, the Department of Labor is citing the Department of Administration. Investigators say the agency committed a serious violation by not providing proper training. The fine, $5,600.
When I saw the amount, I thought that was a low amount, but I don't think there's any dollar amount that can be put on something this tragic.
It's taken time for the shock to subside.
I think the real grief has come later on, realizing, you know, I'm never going to see him again, not on this earth.
Now Marlene says it's time for the state to do everything it can to prevent something like this from happening again.
Safety measures that weren't in place, they need to put them in place. Take it very seriously, because it can happen. They've seen it.
When Barbara and Ben Koval made it out of their house, this was all they saw.
By the time he was out the door and then I was out the door, the fire was already in the garage.
2 to 5 minutes and our house was gone. I mean, we were outside looking at our house not on fire, and then 2 minutes later looking at our house on fire.
Investigators say it started in the garage of the home next door on Golden Moss Trail in northwest Raleigh. But how it started is still unclear.
When we came in this morning, the ceilings were pouring water. Now they're just dripping.
The Kovals have spent the day trying to salvage what they can. Photos floated out to the yard, some as old as
1965.
Others from their wedding day.
So my mom bought it for me and I wasn't about to let it go.
Barbara was able to get her wedding dress.
It's very wet. It's very wet. But
it's here.
It's not on fire, so that's good. It's not burnt.
And more surprises were waiting inside.
My Peace College degree that's been hanging on the wall is on the bed. I want that.
All right, I'll try and get it.
I want that. Worked very hard for that degree.
That's how it's been all day. It's just a piece here, a piece there. Stuff we didn't even realize we had, or something that we forgot we had, and it's just like, you know what, maybe we can save it.
That hope is partnered with a sense of humor.
We had talked about skylights, and we didn't know we were going to do the whole second floor.
And also a sense of gratefulness for the neighbors who sounded the alarm.
We may have made it out, but I'm sure our animals wouldn't have. I don't know if we would have been able to find them.
Everybody's been real supportive. Anything we need, they've just been helping out.
In Raleigh, Michael Hyland, WNCN News. At 4 years old, Andy Trepsick is facing challenges he never should have. He's living with cerebral palsy, he's blind, and he's recovering from major hip surgery. For Andy, small accomplishments like that are big successes.
Pick him up. Hey!
But Andy was not born like this. His adoptive parents, Tracy and Alan Trepsick, vividly remember meeting Andy for the first time in the hospital when he was just an infant.
He had extensive brain damage from the shaking.
In 2012, Southern Pines police say Andy was home with his biological parents, Sterling Cummings and Brianne Fowler. He was just 3.5 weeks old when someone shook him, causing permanent brain damage and changing his life forever. This was clearly no accident.
Clearly, all of the medical experts, every medical expert that they spoke with, without a doubt, said that this was absolutely no accident.
About 6 months later, police charged both his parents with child abuse. But the Trepsicks found justice was slow to come in this case.
Our frustration level continued to mount because we just felt like nothing was happening from the DA's office on Andy's behalf.
By 2015, the case was still not resolved. Police arrested Sterling Cummings again, this time charging him with strangling the woman you see in these photos. Another 9 months went by, and then this happened. The district attorney's office presented the Trepsicks with a plan to roll both cases together and offer Cummings a plea deal. That deal? Guilty pleas on the assault and child abuse charges. But the sentence shocked the Trepsicks: 45 days in prison and 5 years probation. Cummings took the deal.
The DA's position was that it was a hard case to try because neither defendant was saying much of anything.
Andy deserved for his story to be told before a jury.
The deal was reached just this year and comes amid a crisis of confidence in the social services system in Moore County.
You shouldn't have to almost die to get taken out of a home in this county.
In April, 23-month-old Ryland Ott wandered from his home and drowned in a pond. A judge had recently returned Ryland to his mother's custody over the objections of his foster parents. Social Services Board member and County Commissioner Catherine Graham is arranging an independent investigation.
I think it will further assure the public that we are covering all bases.
Pam Reed was Ryland's and Andy's guardian ad litem. She says she's concerned about the priority being placed on kids in the system.
The district attorney office had an obligation to Andy to proceed and to speak on his behalf. And I don't think they did that.
For the last several weeks, CBS North Carolina has been working to get answers from District Attorney Maureen Kruger's office. After denying multiple requests for interviews, we went to the office. The assistant district attorney who handled Andy's case, Warren McSweeney, said he couldn't comment because the case is still pending against Andy's biological mother, Breanne Fowler. The Trepsicks shared this email they received from him about the plea deal. Quote, "I understand you will not be happy with that decision, but it is something that I have thought long and hard about and have given careful consideration to the facts and evidence surrounding the case."
I don't feel like the DA's office fought for Andy.
The Trepsicks still want the DA's office to pursue the case against Fowler. However, we discovered this document filed in early August to destroy a DNA sample. The prosecutor checked this box, which reads, quote, "No conviction has occurred, at least 3 years have passed since the date of arrest, and no active prosecution is occurring."
I feel like he's been violated a second time by the judicial system.
In the years since this all started, the Trepsicks also adopted Andy's biological sister. As trying as it's all been, the Trepsicks are still committed to Andy.
He keeps defying the odds. You know, they keep telling us, you know, he's never really gonna be able to communicate with you. He's never gonna be able to hold on to anything. He's never gonna do anything on purpose, but he's done all those things.